3 months ago, Sarah walked away from me. Not because I did something wrong, but because I did everything right. Right. I opened every door. I agreed with everything she said. I was always available, and she lost all interest. I didn't understand it then, but Carl Jung did. Over 80 years ago. You see, Jung said something that most men never hear. He said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. But here's the catch. If one substance has no form, no structure, no identity, there's nothing to react with. You become invisible. Not because you're kind, but because you have no edge, no boundary, no self. This video will show you why women test men. Not to hurt you, not to play games, but to find something they can't live without. And most men fail this test every single day. They fail it in the coffee shop when she cancels last minute. They fail it in the bedroom when she pulls away. They fail it during arguments when she says things she doesn't mean, because they never learned what she's actually searching for. I'm gonna share something with you, something that changed how I see every interaction with women. It comes from Robert Greene. He said, when you show yourself to the world and display your talents, you naturally stir all kinds of resentment, envy, and other manifestations of insecurity. But he missed one part. When you hide yourself completely, you stir nothing. No emotion, no attraction, no test, because there's nothing worth testing. Women test men the same way water tests a dam, not with anger, not with cruelty, but with pressure. Constant, steady pressure. She pushes here. She pulls there. She watches. Say waits. She's asking one question through 100 different actions. Will you hold? And most men answer that question in the first 5 minutes. They crack. They bend. They apologize for things they didn't do. And she walks away. Not because she wanted to, but because nature gave her no choice. Nietzsche understood this. He wrote, in individuals, insanity is rare, but in groups, parties, nations, and epics, it is the rule. What does that mean? It means we follow the crowd even when the crowd is wrong. Your father told you to be nice. Your mother told you to share everything. Your teachers told you to always compromise. And every single one of them was wrong. Not about life, but about attraction. Because attraction doesn't follow the rules of polite society. Here's what I learned after Sarah left. Women don't test you because they want you to fail. They test you because they need you to pass. Think about it. A woman who finds a strong man stops searching. She stops testing. She stops pulling away. But until she finds that strength, her nature won't let her rest. This isn't evil. This isn't manipulation. This is survival. Freud called it the unconscious mind, the part of her that makes decisions before she even knows why. Freud said, unexpressed emotions will never die. They are buried alive and will come forth later in uglier ways. And that's exactly what happens when a woman can't find strength in a man. She doesn't get angry right away. She gets distant, quiet, cold, and men panic. They buy flowers. They write long texts. They try to fix her mood with gifts and words. But you can't fix what isn't broken. She's not damaged. She's disappointed. Because you showed her weakness when she needed to see strength. Let me tell you what a test really looks like. You make plans for Friday. She texts Thursday night. I'm not feeling it anymore. Most men respond in 30 seconds. What's wrong? Did I do something? Please, talk to me. That's the test. And that's the failure, because you just showed her that your peace depends on her mood. You gave her the power to control your emotions with one text. Marcus Aurelius warned us about this. He said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. The strong man reads that text and waits, not because he's playing games, but because he's not controlled by fear. He knows that her mood today doesn't define his worth tomorrow. So he waits 3 hours, maybe 4, then he responds with 7 words. No problem. Let me know when you're ready. And something shifts. Because he didn't chase. He didn't panic. He didn't break. He held his frame. And deep in her unconscious mind, something clicks. He's different. He's solid. He's real. This is just the beginning. In the next 5 minutes, I'll show you the 3 types of tests every woman uses, and why each one reveals what she's truly searching for. Stay with me, because what comes next will change how you see every woman you meet. Carl Jung discovered something that most men never learn. He called it the shadow, the dark part of ourselves we hide from the world. And he said something powerful. Everyone carries a shadow, and the less it is embodied in the individual's conscious life, the blacker and denser it is. What does this mean for you? Simple. When you hide your true self to please a woman, you don't become more attractive. You become less real. And women can smell fake from a mile away. There are 3 types of tests women use. I call them the Trinity of Truth. First is the emotional test. Second is the boundary test. Third is the loyalty test. Every woman you meet will use all 3. Not once, not twice, but constantly. Until she knows who you really are. Jung said, knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darknesses of other people. So let's explore each test, and what happens when you pass or fail. The emotional test comes first. She shows you emotion and watches your reaction. She gets upset over something small. She raises her voice. She cries. She goes silent for days. And here's what she's really doing. She's checking if you can handle her at her worst. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Most men react with panic. They try to fix her feelings. They apologize. They promise to change, and they fail the test immediately. Why? Because when you panic during her emotional storm, you prove something to her unconscious mind. You prove that you can't handle pressure. You prove that her emotions control yours. And if her emotions control you now, what happens when real problems come? What happens when money gets tight? When family creates stress? When life gets hard? She needs to know you won't crumble. So she tests you early, before she invests her heart, before she builds a future with you in her mind. Arthur Schopenhauer said something dark but true. A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. If he does not love solitude, he will not love freedom. For it is only when he is alone that he is really free. This means something specific. If you need her approval to feel okay, you're not free. You're a prisoner to her moods, and women don't fall in love with prisoners. They fall in love with free men who choose to stay, not men who stay because they're afraid to be alone. So what does passing the emotional test look like? She comes home angry. She snaps at you. She says something harsh, and you do nothing. You don't match her energy. You don't defend yourself. You don't run away. You simply exist in your calm. You might say, I see you're upset. I'll be here when you're ready to talk. Then you go about your business. You read. You work. You exist. And something happens inside her mind. She feels safe. Because your peace didn't depend on her mood. Now let's talk about the boundary test. This is the big one. This is where most men lose women forever. Jordan Peterson explains it perfectly. You should be a monster. An absolute monster. And then learn how to control it. He doesn't mean be cruel. He means have the capacity to say no. Have the spine to enforce your limits. Have the strength to walk away when disrespected. Because a man without boundaries is a man without value. The boundary test happens like this. She asks you to cancel your plans with friends. She wants you to skip the gym to watch a movie. She needs you to drop everything every time she calls. And here's the trap. Most men think saying yes proves love, but it proves the opposite. It proves you have no life outside her. It proves you'll abandon yourself to please her. And that makes you boring. Machiavelli warned, the promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present. Wait. That doesn't mean break your word. It means understand that sometimes keeping peace with yourself matters more than keeping peace with others. If you promised yourself you'd build your business, don't break that promise for her comfort. If you committed to your health, don't abandon it for a mood. Because when you break promises to yourself, she learns something. She learns your word means nothing. And if your word to yourself means nothing, your word to her means even less. Here's what passing the boundary test looks like. She asks you to cancel your morning workout to have breakfast with her. You say, "I'd love to have breakfast with you tomorrow, but this morning, I'm committed to my routine." She might get upset. She might pull away. She might test harder. But deep down, something shifts. She sees that you value yourself, and people only value what they see valued. Plato said, "The first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself." When she sees you've conquered yourself, she wants to be part of your world. Now we arrive at the third test, the loyalty test. This is the most dangerous one, because this test doesn't look like a test at all. It looks like betrayal. It looks like she's pushing you away on purpose. And most men respond with anger or desperation. Both responses fail. Robert Greene teaches us, never assume that the person you are dealing with is weaker or less important than you are. She's not weak when she tests your loyalty. She's smart. She's protecting her future. The loyalty test comes in many forms. She mentions another man's name too often. She talks about her ex. She flirts with someone in front of you. She goes quiet for days and watches what you do. And here's what she's really asking. Will you stay solid when things get uncomfortable? Or will you crumble the moment you feel threatened? Sigmund Freud said, "Out of your vulnerabilities will come your strength, but only if you face them. Only if you don't run from the discomfort." I watched my friend Marcus lose a woman he loved because of this test. She told him about a guy at work who kept asking her out. Marcus exploded. He accused her of wanting the other guy. He demanded she quit her job. He became controlling and angry, and she left him 2 weeks later. Not because she wanted the other guy, but because Marcus showed her something terrifying. He showed her that his love came with chains, and no woman stays with a man who holds chains. What should Marcus have done? Simple. He should have trusted his own value. When she mentioned the other guy, he could have said, "He has good taste." Then changed the subject. That's it. No anger. No fear. No interrogation. Because a man who knows his worth doesn't compete with shadows. He doesn't fight for attention. He simply exists in his power and lets her choose. Nietzsche understood this. Rot. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. That quote means something specific for relationships. The tribe tells you to fight for her, to chase her, to prove you care more than the other guy. But the tribe is wrong, because fighting for her attention puts her above you. It tells her that you're scared of losing her, and fear is the opposite of attraction. Marcus Aurelius taught, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Let me share what passing the loyalty test actually looks like. You notice she's being distant. She's mentioned another man 3 times this week. She's testing if you'll panic, and you don't. You continue living your life with purpose. You focus on your work. You hit the gym. You spend time with friends. You don't ignore her, but you don't chase her either. You remain available, but not desperate. And something powerful happens. She sees that your world doesn't revolve around her insecurity. This is what Jung meant by individuation. The process of becoming whole within yourself. He said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Not who she wants you to be. Not who society expects, but who you are at your core. And when you commit to that journey, when you refuse to abandon yourself for her comfort, she feels something primal. She feels respect, and respect is the foundation of everything else. Now here's the part most people miss. All 3 tests happen at the same time. She's testing your emotions while testing your boundaries, while testing your loyalty. All at once. It's not organized. It's not planned. It's instinct. Her unconscious mind is running a program that's thousands of years old, and that program has one job: Find the strongest man available. Not physically strong, emotionally strong, mentally strong, spiritually strong. The kind of strength that doesn't break under pressure. Hobbes said something brutal, but honest. The condition of man is a condition of war of everyone against everyone. He meant that life is competition, not just for resources, but for value, for respect, for position. And in the realm of attraction, women are competing to find men worth keeping, just like you're competing to become a man worth choosing. The difference is this. She tests a filter. You build to attract, two sides of the same coin. So what is she really looking for? Carl Jung answered this decades ago. He said, the meeting of two personalities is like the contact of two chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. She's looking for a man who has substance, a man who creates a reaction, not through force, not through games, but through genuine presence. She wants to feel something when she's with you. Safety and excitement, calm and passion, peace and growth. And those things only come from a man who has mastered himself first. Let me tell you about the moment everything changed for me. I was sitting in a coffee shop, alone, reading Jung's work on the anima, the feminine part of a man's soul, and he wrote something that hit me like lightning. Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. I realized I had been dreaming my whole life. Dreaming that women would save me, that their love would complete me. And that dream kept me weak. The truth is simple but painful. Women don't test men they don't care about. They test men they want to keep. If she didn't see potential in you, she'd just leave. No drama. No tests. No second chances. But when she tests you, she's saying something without words. I want this to work, but I need to know you're real. Albert Ellis understood human behavior deeply. He said, the best years of your life are the ones in which you decide your problems are your own. You do not blame them on your mother, the ecology, or the president. That quote changes everything when you apply it to relationships. When she tests you and you fail, it's not her fault. It's not society's fault. It's yours, because you never learned emotional control. You never built boundaries. You never developed the strength she needs to feel safe. And here's the hard truth. Most men go their entire lives blaming women for leaving, but they never look in the mirror and ask, what did I fail to build in myself? That question is uncomfortable, but it's the only question that matters. Machiavelli wrote in The Prince, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. This applies perfectly to testing. When you first meet a woman, she sees your appearance, your smile, your words, your charm. But that's surface level. The tests exist to get past the surface, to experience who you really are when pressure comes. When she's emotional, when she's distant, when she's difficult. That's when your true character shows. And character is what she's betting her future on. Let me give you a real example. My friend David met a woman named Jessica. First 3 weeks were perfect. They laughed. They connected. They spent every evening together. Then Jessica started pulling back. She'd take hours to respond to texts. She'd cancel plans last minute. She'd mention other guys casually. David panicked. He sent long paragraphs explaining his feelings. He showed up at her place unannounced. He demanded to know what changed, and she disappeared completely. Why? Because he failed every single test. What David didn't understand is what Epictetus taught 2,000 years ago. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Jessica pulling back wasn't rejection. It was information. She was showing him her pattern. She was revealing how she acts when life gets stressful. And instead of staying calm, instead of maintaining his own life, David made her his entire world. He proved that, without her attention, he had no center, no purpose, no peace. And that scared her away. Here's what David should have done. When Jessica pulled back, he should have pulled back into himself. Not to punish her, not to play games, but to reconnect with his own mission. He should have hit the gym harder, focused on his business, spent time with friends, lived his life fully. And then, when Jessica reached out again, because he would have responded from a place of strength, not neediness, not fear, but calm, grounded presence. That's what passes the test. Jordan Peterson says, you're going to pay a price for everything you do and everything you don't do. You don't get to choose to not pay a price. You get to choose which poison you're going to take. What's the poison of passing her tests? Sometimes it's loneliness. Sometimes it's uncertainty. Sometimes it's watching her walk away and trusting she'll come back. But what's the poison of failing? It's guaranteed loss. It's guaranteed weakness. It's living your whole life controlled by fear. Choose your poison wisely. Carl Jung's final lesson on this is the most important. He said, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Every test a woman gives you is an opportunity to choose strength over weakness, calm over chaos, purpose over approval. And when you make that choice consistently, something shifts in how women see you. You stop being just another guy trying to win her over. You become the man she doesn't want to lose. Not because you chased, but because you built something worth staying for. So let me leave you with this. Women test men because they're searching for something rare. A man who knows himself. A man who controls himself. A man whose peace doesn't depend on her mood. If you want to pass her tests, stop trying to pass them. Start building yourself into someone who doesn't need to try. Because the strongest answer to any test is not a clever response. It's a solid life. Build that life. Guard your peace. Master your emotions. And watch how everything changes. The woman who tests you today will trust you tomorrow, not because you convinced her, but because you became undeniable.